welcome everyone to Asian Pacific Voices Radio, where you will find stimulating conversations that explore diverse topics and stories impacting our communities. I'm your host, Sasha Foo. Today we're talking funny, or I hope it'll be funny, because our guest is comedian Jason Cheny. He is a comedian who's been taking the mic on stages all over the US and Asia, giving audiences his perspective on life, family, and the world at large. Jason Cheny has performed in Los Angeles at clubs such as the Laugh Factory and the Comedy Store, and in New York at the Comedy Cellar. He was born in Taiwan and came to the United States at the age of 14 to attend high school here. So we are so very pleased and excited to have him as our guest today. Welcome, Jason. How you doing?
Hey, everybody. Really happy to be here. Real quick, so when you said, I hope this will be funny, that made me feel a little pressured. Should I be funny or I'm supposed to be funny?
You don't have to be funny. I don't want to put any pressure on you. This is not a stand-up routine. It's not your act. You can be funny. You can be really a horrible person if you want. Be yourself. I do want to find out a little bit more about your background.
Person that I am.
Yeah. No, I know you're a delightful person, so I don't mean to be.
I'm not.
You're not. Okay. Revelation. Okay. Disclosure. Full disclosure. I am very interested because I am Chinese, and when I was a kid, I wanted to go into entertainment, and of course, my parents discouraged me because in that generation and at that time, the only really acceptable vocations or professions for Asian children, especially Chinese kids, was either doctor, physicist, neurosurgeon, engineer, scientist. Comedian was not on the top of that list. What prompted you to take this path into comedy, and what did your parents or your family think about it?
Honestly, I don't know. I should be a doctor.
You should be a doctor?
Guys, I'm so sorry. I was just joking. So the reason why I wanted to get into stand-up comedy, because like Sasha was saying, a lot of people, this has been said over and over, just, the doctor, lawyer, engineer thing. And I think it's really important for anybody to express themselves. And I think a lot of people nowadays in any age group is just we have so much we want to express a lot of the times ourselves, and we wanted to say so many things, but I think especially Asian culture, we're very suppressed and people don't want to hear us out and listen to our voices. Asian Pacific Voices Radio. So I really wanted to express myself and connect with others and want to be heard, because I think anyone just wants to be seen and heard when they're live. So I felt that way, and I wanted to that's why I wanted to get into stand-up, not even to be funny, but just to express myself. And a lot of people put a lot of pressure on their first performance in anything. It could be, an exam or their first anything. But I think the most important thing is to just go and do it. Because the first time I ever did stand-up comedy, I wasn't even funny, but it was so freeing and relieving to even get to have people hear you and be open to hearing what you have to say.
Jason, do you remember what you were talking about in that first routine, the first time you did stand-up? What were you talking about?
I do. I was talking about very important topics of the world. For example, how I have a goldfish in a bowl and how the way that the fish was swimming.
Okay, sounds pretty funny.
I didn't do well, but and then I was talking about experiences where the hospitals and healthcare is a little different, comparing from Asia, and which I'm from Taiwan, so we have universal healthcare, and in America it's a little more difficult to get healthcare here. So I was just talking about that, and the goofy things that happened to me, um, you know, during my visit in the hospital. And some people chuckled, and but I wasn't good. Like riding a bike, nobody, or playing a piano, nobody's good at anything the first time. I mean, some people are more talented than the others, but I think everything takes practice.
I
And
gotta hand it to
yeah,
you because if
expression
you
is
get
very
up on
important.
stage and people don't really laugh and you think, oh my gosh, I
Mm.
bombed, it takes a lot of courage to get up on stage the next time, the time after that, especially if initially you're just kind of learning. I mean, what made you say, I'm going to do this no matter, maybe I'm not killing it yet, but I'm going to keep on going?
Yeah, that's a great question. Is really just a drive of wanting to express myself and to be heard. So, getting a laugh didn't really matter. That wasn't the priority for me. At least the first month, it's really just to be heard as a person, as a human being, whether being Asian or not. And I encourage people, anyone in any profession, to just try stand up comedy, because it's just really freeing when somebody, and like you said, it takes courage. So um when you overcome that challenge of speaking in public and have other people scrutinize, or even judge you and scrutinize you, and I think getting over that fear, I think it's really it's something you could pat yourself on the back for it, Sasha.
Yeah, give you major props for being able to do this. I mean, I think a lot of people like getting up and standing in front of a room full of strangers and like, okay, like make me laugh. That's pretty intimidating. So you started this about 7 years ago and you've been working pretty steadily in the last 4 or 5 years. Again, what's the reaction from your family? Are they pretty supportive? Or are they initially kind of skeptical? Like, how the heck are you going to make a living out of this?
Guys, I've started this 10 years ago, and Asian voice, Asian Pacific radio, voices radio. Uh, Sorry, it's just the whole, because before this, you guys, the viewers, can't really see this, but the alarm was going off, and it was just hilarious. But the the parents. The parents is, yeah, we could cut that out. But the parents, they were not. So my parents was not very supportive, like most Asian parents wouldn't, and but I did my best, and it was just a passion, and I think it's important to follow your passion. It doesn't, because it just feels good to do something that you want to do, and especially in a society and time where we're obligated to do a lot of things that we don't want to do to survive. So doing something I want to do was selfish, but also happy. And we all want to be happy, and that's something that, going against what my parents wanted, I just wanted to do something that I wanted to do, because I never even thought, like most Asians, I don't think we really think about what we want to do, or what makes us happy, because most of our lives we just wanted to make our parents happy. So I wanted to make myself happy for the first time, and yeah, it turned out to be a great time. And I encourage anybody out there, especially Asian immigrants, to do so.
I understand you said you had a great need to express yourself, but why comedy? I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can express yourself. You could be a dancer, you could be a writer, you could be making films. Why comedy? Comedy is not easy.
Well, I think nothing is easy. Any career and career path is not easy, and yeah, yeah, the because me, I don't have really other talents like music or dance or writing. I mean, stand-up comedy is also writing, but in a different way, and
Mhm.
people's brain work differently. So, but my brain is just, I like to find the easiest way, as easy as possible. um but also it's very difficult after you you do it a while, because my first thing was, man, I love when other people laugh. I like to laugh. Who doesn't like to laugh? It's a good time, you know? And I enjoyed stand up comedy after I discovered it in ninth grade, which is Kevin Hart. And a lot of Asians aren't really into stand up comedy because we don't have the form of one man stand up comedy show. And we're also not encouraged to, uh, seek entertainment when we're most encouraged in working or pursuing a career that is stable, for our family, like we talked about a little earlier. But stand-up comedy, I was thinking about it and I was like, hey, what can I do that I like to do that would make me happy and others happy, and also don't really have to bring anything to work and just show up. And I was like, yeah, I would like to tell dick jokes for money. That would be amazing. And
Like, yeah, it would be amazing. And it is amazing. I mean, you're doing what you love. I'm really interested in the kind of material that you put in your act. I know a little bit of, I've seen some of your clips. What do you, what, what do you find funny in life? And where do you find your inspiration?
I love talking about family, culture, and also mostly that I'm passionate about is my perspective on things, because I feel like these days people have really extreme opinions or very narrow minded in the beliefs that they have growing up, or the information that they get from the news or a blog. But I think, and so that's why a lot of people fight and get very stubborn on their views. But I think we should remember to respect each other's perspectives, because that's what makes humanity great, is that everybody has a little bit of a different flavor and the way they think and stance that they take. And even though if we all can't really agree with each other, we could still respect each other and try to understand each other. And I think that, makes it what's beautiful. And also sometimes it could be abrasive and hard to get through together, but that's what's beautiful.
I
So
see
that
a lot
makeup
of
sex is the best
comics.
sex, I always say.
What was that?
Huh?
What did you say?
I said makeup sex is the best sex, because sometimes you need a little bit of fire to get the sweetness. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you need a little abrasion, as they say, to
To
have
make those
something
sparks
good.
fly, right? Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Is this a family show? We don't know, but I said what I said. Back to
More
you,
on makeup
Sasha.
sex later, but let me ask you another question about how your ethnicity, being Chinese, born in Taiwan, how does that flavor your material? Some
You know
comics
what's you know what's
draw a,
interesting?
yeah, well, some comics draw a lot on their ethnic background or their
Yeah,
religion and they reference it pretty freely. Is that
I
pretty
do as
important?
well.
Yeah. I mean, is that
Yeah, it's important. It's important. So from what I understand, when you asked a question, you said, you said when you are being a Chinese person from Taiwan. So see, I respect your stance. So your stance is that we're all Chinese. Where were you born, Sasha?
US?
Okay, so you're American. So don't give me this "you're Chinese from Taiwan" thing. Number one. Okay, Sasha Fu? Let's just be clear. All right. I'm actually a first generation immigrant. So I think my voice, Asian voice, holds a little more weight than yours. I'm just
Oh,
kidding. I'm just
really?
joking.
Okay, because you speak fluent Chinese, right?
我当然了，当然是那个讲中文的。你会讲中文吗？
Um, I don't want to answer. I don't want to embarrass myself. I would say 一点点.
Exactly, Sasha. So how about let the guests talk? Huh? How about
Okay,
that?
take it away,
I'm just joking.
Jason.
No, of course, I draw a lot, from the culture, because being a first generation immigrant, like any immigrant, it doesn't matter where you're from. It's just there's a lot of hardships, but I definitely is a lot easier than the previous generation, because there was war happening, famine, drought. I don't know what else is happening. So it was really hard from my parents and even generation before that. So I give so much respect and appreciation to whoever came before me. But being a first generation immigrant, language barrier, culture, all of those things. So when I talk about culture, um, it's not really, oh, I'm from Taiwan or China. I don't really care about that. Like I said, like I really respect. There's Chinese people who come to my shows all the time, and they support Taiwan independence. And it's not that I'm like, oh man, Taiwan have to be independent on their own. It's like I just think that every country or new country, just like America, that when there's like new, it's just because we embrace freedom and culture. LGBTQ, we had the first woman president over in Asia. We passed same-sex marriage over in Asia first. Well, we were the first. So I think embracing so many cultures and being colonized by so many different groups of people. We were colonized by the Spanish, the Dutch, the Japan. We were, you know, did really bad things to. And so we embraced so many cultures. We had so many cultures came through, came through our land, came through. Get it? It's a pun. Look at my face. Huh? Is this a family show? I don't know. But yeah, I try to draw a lot of things from our culture because that's my personal experience. And I'm sure many others' personal experience as well. So if there are people out there who have the same type of path, whether they be Indian immigrants or other East Asian immigrants, Laos, Vietnamese, European, maybe they could also relate to me and find humor in what I say and laugh and be happy together.
Of course. What are the cultural differences that you've picked up between American culture and the culture in which you grew up as a kid?
Well, one of which is, I think, the politeness I speak a little about in my set is just that some Asian cultures are overly polite. So sometimes when they say things in conversation, they wouldn't be like the East Coast, Boston, New York type of like directness. They will kind of go around it, kind of like a backhanded compliment type, and be very poised and that sort of thing. And that it like to me hurts more than if than if you're direct like the New Yorkers, because at least when if they don't like you, you actually know. And also if they like you, you know as well, because roasting and bantering is love. And I had to learn that, um from the different cultures. That's one of them, is that the bantering and politeness is that's why to me intention is so important, because it doesn't matter how mean you are, you always know the other person's intent, you know and so it doesn't matter what you say, other person's intent. So I think we should remember to know, uh to try to understand and feel and see what other person's intent is before we get offended by what the other person is saying. That was a good message from Jason Cheny. Follow
I
me on social
love the
media,
message of
Instagram.
brotherhood and understanding. And I want to pick up on that because you've been touring all over the place in places, middle America. And I'm wondering if you're going into communities where maybe they've never seen an Asian stand up comic. Are you feeling a vibe like they're not really sure whether they should find you funny? Or, I mean, can you relate any experiences where it was clear that they'd never seen an Asian stand-up comic before, and maybe they were a little there? You could pick that up in their response to you.
Sasha, before we continue, I just want to say that thank you for being the beautiful and hosting me and trying to hear what I have to say and bringing my experiences out to the world. So yes, I do tour a lot across America and in the South, Midwest and things like that. Um, yes, I think that the past generation of comedians have gone through more. Like I have friends who are in their 40 50s now, and they've been doing comedy for 20 30 years, and they were telling me that when you first go on stage, people really back then 30 years ago, people would point and go, "Oh, chink," like that's even accepted, and the audience would laugh at them, laugh at the Asian comedians. So I think we've evolved way past that. There's still work that we definitely have room to improve and work on, but now I feel like because of social media, the accessibility of social media, people are more informed and educated that, people are just people. I mean, are there bigots? There always will be,
Mhm.
but I think, now it's a little bit more, much, much better than the horror stories that I have to hear from the comedians that came before me.
I'm curious because in the last couple of years, we've been reporting on hate crimes against Asian folks. And I was
Yeah.
wondering if you had felt any anti Asian bias in your tours, going to doing different shows in different communities. Had you felt like maybe there was a little bit of a pocket of anti Asian um, feeling now?
Yeah, like during those times, I think there was a little more. But you know what? It's such a. I think hurt people, right? Like
Yeah.
if
Okay.
you're hurt, you would try to hurt others to make yourselves feel better. If you're not strong enough or have figured out what who you are, or if you haven't dealt with the pain, and racism falls in the same category, and I just try to give understanding, and I try to give love even when other people try to hurt me. I try to do my best. But there is a line for everybody. So for the Asians out there, or whoever that's getting bullied or getting hurt, I think that um try to give love first. And
Hmm.
if it's really making you uncomfortable and it's actually taking so much of your energy away, you should definitely defend yourself and draw the line, and be vicious so that you could survive when other people are try to hurt you first and try to diminish you. And yeah, so I think give love always first, but definitely draw the line and protect yourself and your family always. Look at my face.
The Goodwill Ambassador, Jason Cheney.
I try to be. I try to. I'm not the perfect person, and I have bad days,
None of
just
us
like any
is.
other
None of us
human.
is a perfect person.
Yeah,
Who
so I
are
try
your
to do my best.
who are your comedy influences when you were getting into the business, and even now? Who are the people who you think, oh, they are really good, they're really smart, their humor is really cool.
Growing up, I always look at my father. He's actually the funny guy in the family, and he would
Really?
laugh also at different types of humors. So I think I got that from the nuance from him. So he appreciates different types of humors, and that kind of taught me the different types of humors when he reacts to different types of humors. But now, stand-up comedians, I love. Since I was a kid, I loved Jim Carrey because he was so animated, and
Mm.
Rowan Atkinson. He did comedy without any using language. It was really just body language and nuance of the face and situations. But stand up, I loved the first stand up comedian that I was introduced to was first couple was Russell Peters and Kevin Hart. But later I start to find Nate Bargatze, Sebastian Maniscalco, Ronnie Chang, Ali Wong. I mean, the greats, the Asian American greats, uh, icons, and Bobby Lee, you know. Um, yeah, so I love so many different. I love Earthquake. He is a black comedian, hilarious. Yeah, there's so many different styles of comedy,
Is there a
and
style that's particularly special to you? Like some people are more physical comedy people, some people have a more dry sense of humor, others are more cerebral. um, Other people are, they tell a lot of jokes about body parts.
yeah,
Where do you
I think
fall?
the people who say what's in their heart and not just I love watching. That's why I love watching Ronnie Chang, because he turns something that he wants to say that's not funny into something hilarious. So
Hmm.
that's really hard to do compared to just do the low hanging fruit. Don't worry, but the things that make me laugh the most is definitely the low hanging fruits, like the relationship stuff, sex, dick jokes, all of this. But the things that I admire the most and strive to be more of is that, talking about family issues or social issues or cultural differences,
Hmm.
that is maybe, or racism even, that's hard to speak of, or more serious topics like gun control or abortion, politics even, not so much, but those topics, but making it hilarious is hard to do. And
You said
I, I
politics,
I
not
love
so
that.
much. You don't incorporate many political
Oh, I
jokes into
do.
your.
So a little
Okay.
bit of it, but not. I don't like the whole show. Watch a person talk about politics for an hour. Is like, yeah,
Okay.
if you have 5-10 minutes of it, I think that's beautiful, and it's really nice to have a little bit of everything in the human experience and social experience. Just a little bit of everything. I love. Yeah, kind of like Baskin Robbins, 32 flavors.
Exactly.
Look at my face.
What about you were talking? We were talking a little bit about your experiences as a comedian, maybe in communities where they hadn't had a lot of exposure to Asian entertainers. What about in Asia, where I think you had told me that you were playing to audiences who had never seen any stand-up comedy before? What was that like?
Yeah, there's many audiences that has been to my shows, who got tickets at jasoncheney.com and Instagram at jasoncheney. When they came out, it was their very first time watching stand-up comedy, because again, we were never really encouraged to watch this art form. So the first time ever that they came out, and it's great. The same thing when I toured over Asia, there's a lot of expats, expatriates, which is, you know, people that's from, what an expatriate is. And then, yeah, so I love when they could relate, to what I have to say. I know you got to wrap up soon. Again, before we end, I just want to say thank you so much, and to conduct such a flawless interview and being beautiful on camera, Sasha Fu.
Oh,
All right.
you're being too polite. I
Yeah.
think like there's a joke behind this because you're being excessively polite.
And I just want to also give a shout out to Kathleen Choi. So yeah, I'm just grateful.
So tell me a little bit about your process. How you work? Do you have an idea and then you write it down on paper, or you put it on a computer somewhere, or do you just kind of try out your material with your friends or your father and say, "Ooh, do you think this is funny?" How do you work?
That's a good question too. I like to just, whatever happens during my life, I live my life, and whatever happens during my life. For example, maybe my sister would say something ridiculous, and then I'll just think of that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be her. It could be just be a topic that somebody said that is ridiculous to me that maybe other people could relate to. Like, oh, I don't know, when I stub my toe, I doesn't hurt. And I'm like, well, that's just pride, A lot of people take pride into um a lot. So yeah, just different, just living life and try to just observe and talk about random things.
Episodes from your
I
life.
put that I put like little bullet points on my notepad, and I think people should
Ah,
just write anyways. People should write all the time, express themselves on paper. And
so
then when you read
when
it
you get
back, you
ready for a
understand yourself a
routine,
little bit more.
though, do you know, Jason, what you're going to talk about, or you just go up on stage and say, "Oh yeah, I had this funny bit about trying to open up a can of beans or something the other day. I couldn't do it." I mean, do you just
Well,
ad lib or
yeah, so I have a set list,
okay?
the things that I know that works, and there are some new things that I wanted to try out. But also love to ad lib because it's a live audience, so I wanted to connect with them. So I do a little bit of everything. I do the things that I know that is going to work, just to give them a good show. I try out some new things because I wanted to grow, and I ad lib a bit to connect with the audience. Look at my face.
How do you deal with hecklers?
I deal with hecklers by shutting them down first. No.
Okay.
It depends on the situation, but
Okay, let's pretend I'm a heckler. Jason, you stink, man. You're not even funny. I don't know why I wasted this night going out to see you. You are really like the worst comedian I've ever seen.
wow, I didn't know that you could see anything since you're so old, number one. And hearing must be a problem.
Okay, that's good. That's
I'm
good.
sorry
You put
about
me in
that.
my place.
I didn't mean it. I
Yeah,
didn't
you
mean it.
did. You
No,
put
I
me in my
didn't.
place. That's okay. It's good. It's
I
good.
didn't mean no, it's because you're pretending like if this was a show. That's what I would have said.
Yeah,
That's what I
I
would
was
have said.
just I wanted a role play. I was like, yeah, your humor is terrible. Um, your humor sucks. It's horrible. A lot of comedians have transitioned into their own primetime TV show or, even getting
Sasha,
series.
that bantering got me a little horny.
We did.
I'm just
Oh my
joking.
goodness.
I'm just
Well,
joking. I don't know what I have a wife, and I don't know I don't know what type of show this is, but I'm having a great time, Sasha. Please continue on your question, please. I just wanted to say
okay,
that
what
just
happened
to
to the
spice
very,
it up a
very
bit.
polite Jason? Okay, what happened to him?
He's back. He's
Okay.
back.
I was going to say something about the comedians that have transitioned from doing live stand up to TV, talk show hosts, the Trevor Noahs, the Jimmy Kimmels, and then, other people like, Jerry Seinfeld, Issa Rae, they have their own series. What's next for you? Do you see yourself wanting to
You
experiment
will
with
see
other
me
forms?
on you will see me on one of the biggest streaming platforms doing my hour special. You will see me touring theaters in the next 3 to 5 years, and so please look out for that. But before then, come to a show, support me, and have a great time. And I'm always going to do my best and be my most authentic self, and give a goofy, good time, happy time for myself and you guys first. Look at my face. Hey, Sasha, I think Kathleen is asking us to wrap up because
Okay.
he's saying that we could do,
We could go
yeah,
on
we
and
could
on and
do,
on for
yeah,
quite some time.
for days.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
we will wrap up then. I just want to thank you for sharing your perspective and your look at my face with us today. How do we find out more about you and what you're going to be up to in the next year?
Please follow me online on all the social platforms and my website, all at jasoncheny.com. And Jason Cheny at Jason Cheny, Cheny. Thank you so much for having me, everybody.
Well, it was a pleasure talking to you, Jason. You did make me laugh. We
I
also
hope
want to
so.
hear from you, our valued listeners, about suggestions for future guests on this show. And be sure to subscribe to your favorite podcast platform, as well as follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Asian Pacific Voices Radio is produced by Asian Culture and Media Alliance. This is a nonprofit that empowers our Asian and Pacific Islander communities with a voice through media arts. If you'd like to support our program, please visit AsianPacificVoicesRadio.com. I'm your host, Sasha Foo. Thanks so much for listening. Join us next week for another exciting and thought-provoking Asian Pacific Voices radio show. Until then, take care and live your best life.